Okay, in this video, we're going to go over a concept called migrations. So migrations have to do with the database inside of Laravel. And migrations are a way to tell Laravel what you want to do to the database with code. And the reason we want to do that is because it allows us to get a database in a certain state reliably with code. It's a way to version what has happened to the database and how to get the database into the current state that it's in now. This is really important for replication across dev machines and just a good practice for good database health. So what we're going to do is backtrack a little bit, and I want to take you to the Laravel cell docs again. And when I was preparing for this video, I ran a couple commands and was like, wait, what am I doing? And I realized we're supposed to be running these inside of the container. So Laravel right now, and when you access this in the browser, is not running on my local machine. It's running on Docker that's running on my local machine. And the database that we set up when we first installed is also running inside of one of those special Docker machines. And I cannot access that database through a traditional host. It uses these host names called MySQL. I won't get too much in the weeds because this is not really in the scope of this, but what I'm trying to say is that when you want to interact with the database through Artisan, through the application, we need to do it through a special command with sail. And first of all, we're going to alias sail. And what that means is taking a longer command and just shortening it into our command line. So we're going to do that. And now we can run Artisan commands inside of sail. So let's go ahead and run sail artisan. So this, for instance, PHP artisan migrate status, which just tells us the status of our migrations. It can't connect. See, it's saying, oh no, you can't connect, can't resolve the host name. And that's because the host here is called MySQL. Normally, it's supposed to be something like an IP address or something that's resolvable from the DNS. But because we're using Docker, it masks these and just gives you nice, easy names to reference so that the containers can talk to each other over this kind of shadow network that it creates. So now let's just do sail artisan migrate status. Migration table not found. That's great though, because it was able to connect to the database and determine if the table exists. So that's great. So what we're going to do is let's just go sail artisan migrate. Boom. Okay. So you can see that some stuff happened here. It migrated, it created a user table, it created a password resets table, it created a failed jobs table. It did all kinds of stuff here. So let's take a look at that. And this is where I was talking about when you have a code first approach for database migrations. And this is how you can declare it in code. So you can say, hey, I want you to create a table called users. And these are all the columns that I want to give it. Okay. And when we run down, which means we want to backtrack or undo, then this is the command that runs when we do that. And that's drop if exists users. Okay. So next, let's go ahead and connect to the database with a local tool. Okay. So the credentials for connecting to the database, if you look, let's run docker ps, and then you can see that it is running on port 3306, so that's the default port. And then let's go to our env file. So just type in command p.env. And this is where we set our database connections, okay? So let's see what these are. It looks like the database is Laravel, username is sail, the password is password. So I'm going to open up my tool here called SQL Ace. And I am going to create a new connection here, and the host is going to be localhost, and then our username is sail password. Okay, sail password, Laravel. Let's test the connection. Connection succeeded. All right. And there we are. So now we're able to see these tables inside of our database. They are empty, but we're able to look at them and see what's going on. Okay. Now let's go ahead and make a posts table. Okay. So let's do here, and we're going to generate a migration. And this migration is going to tell Laravel, when you run this migration, I want you to create a table and give it some columns. So make migration. And the reason why I could just run old-fashioned PHP Artisan, I'm not interacting with the database. I'm just creating a file right now. So create posts table. Okay. So now we've told it we want to create a post table. And if you notice, when I name this migration by like create post table, it knows that I want to create a post table. It doesn't always do this. You can change an existing table, and based on how you name it, it'll pick up what your intent is and then create the boilerplate for you, which is pretty neat. It's not always accurate, but when it is, it's nice. So the first thing we want to do is let's table, and then let's give it a title, right? The post title. So it's going to be a string, and it's going to be called title. The next thing we want to do is give it some content. So table, and this could be a really long post, right? So that's going to be long text, and let's call that content. And that just means the kind of character and size that it gets allocated inside of MySQL. Okay, so we created that, and let's go ahead and check our migration status. So we ran, oops. All right, well, I guess we're just gonna run it. So there it is. So now we've created it. I wanna show you what Migrate Status does though. Okay, so there's posts, and there's title, content. There's some other defaults that come with it. Created that, updated that, primary, ID, that kind of thing. And you can see that right here if you want to get more information about that. But let's run this again. But I want to show you what Migrate Status is, and this is a way to show you what migrations you've run, and see, this shows you, hey, did you run them? Yep, we ran all of these already. Right before I ran that, if we had run this before, we would have seen this, but it would have said no, saying, hey, you still have some stuff that you need to migrate. So you can see the usefulness of having code declare the structure of a database, because then you could just pull down this code, run it locally, and boom, you have the same database structure as your colleagues or anybody else working on the project. This also gives you a really good way to go back and undo things as well. Next, we're going to create some models to access this data inside of our view, and also set up some relationships and some other fun stuff.